Hey, what is up guys? It is me, Vanity Videos, here, back with another video, and oh wow, a lot of stuff has changed. And despite the fact that there's an elliptical behind me, no, I have not lost weight, I've actually gained weight. I've gained like 30 pounds, but that's not the main reason I'm making this video. The main reason is a lot of stuff has changed, like I said before. One of the main things that changed is in the last 11 months, is basically that I'm not on Vyvanse anymore. And I'll get into that in a second, but a lot of crap has just gone so wrong. It's been like a huge downward spiral, and now I'm kind of like the calm after the storm, you know? Right now in my life, the period over the last month has been way better than it was before. The last months from August to October were horrible. They were awful. A lot of anxiety, some depression, some suicide. It even led to suicidal thoughts. And I'm gonna be telling the story from January when I started making those videos. So from January, what happened was basically I got a rush from Vyvanse because I started taking again after Christmas break, and I was able to crank out like 9 videos in one day. And my plan was to just keep making those videos all throughout, you know, when I was on it, and then upload them through the next 3 days. And I did until January 8th, and that's when things started to change. So on January 8th, basically, where I left off, from then to now, so much stuff has changed. First thing I can say is that my Vyvanse kind of started to lose its effect, and I didn't really notice that much until that month, basically, period. When it first started to happen is I kind of started to get a calm down, and basically the first day I took it, I had probably the worst calm down ever in my experience, and that was after I made all those videos, and that was like the first day. So yeah, basically not a good start to the year. The January 1st, and I already had probably the most depression and irritability and anxiety that I've ever had until that moment. And you know, after that I just had a whole new perspective on life and you know what it means. But yeah, after that episode, things didn't go too well, you know. Slowly over that month period, I became more and more stressed after the semester because basically things weren't going my way, and I took a class I really didn't want, and you know, I kind of just spent the rest of those few months continuing to take Vyvanse and abuse it. That's when I was, you know, starting to abuse it more, and you know, do some other stuff, and that's when the effects were starting to wear down a little bit, you know. Let's skip forward a little bit because I'm kind of getting off track. Okay, so January, I don't think I ever covered this, but I was actually abusing the medications before I made those videos, and I was getting a little rush or high off of it, and in that video, that was probably a really good experience for not even abusing and just taking my regular dose after Christmas break, which I said before. And yeah, but I was also abusing it, and I would get really high off that, and it was a bad experience overall. It left me with cravings. I still have cravings to this day, and it's just a horrible experience. Leads to a lot of bad thoughts and destructive behaviors. But you know, I just kept abusing it, and it just got worse and worse and worse until basically I decided to take 20, I think it was a 21-day break because I had developed such a tolerance I couldn't even feel it anymore, and this was well into February. And once I developed my tolerance, basically what happened was I couldn't feel the effects anymore, and I was just getting more and more anxious, and you know, not really anxious, it's just it didn't have an effect, and I didn't get the same feeling, and I didn't like that. So you know, I took a break, and when I took the break, the first few days always of Vyvanse withdrawal were always really calm, and I kind of actually enjoyed it a little bit. But after a while, it turns into depression, and what happened for me was the depression lasted. I tried to make a video, but I couldn't. I completely abandoned the channel pretty much. And yeah, after that 21 days, I took it again, and this time it didn't have nearly the effect it did before. I mean, it just completely changed on that point. And that's when the abuse really started to take off to a whole new level. I started going on binges, and that was probably at the end of February. And at the end of the binges, I was left worn out, and I had a whole new level of tolerance. I probably took like 30 pills in those days, and it was not a good experience. And after that, I was looking for a new way to fill that void in my self, and I turned to marijuana. And this is my second experience with marijuana, actually. I tried it before in that 21-day period, and I just felt a little bit tired, but I wanted to take it to a whole new level, so I took a hit of a dab pen. I took 3 hits. I won't get into the details of much of that, but the experience was horrible. I had a panic attack and developed derealization, which transformed my whole world into thinking I was living in a dream. And I was having this very intense, this most panicked, most terrible probably state I've ever been in my entire life. It was trippy as fuck, and to this day, it just brings back so many bad memories. I ended up going to the emergency room. I was screaming for help to go to the emergency room. When I ended up in the emergency room, basically what happened was, well, they injected me with some stuff, and I think it was alprazolam. It was some kind of benzodiazepine, and I don't know, it made it way calmer, and I blacked out, basically. And to make a long story short, $3,000 in medical bills, and my parents took all the money out of my account, which left me basically broke, and this made me even more depressed at the time because, I just cost my family like a ton of money, and, having that burden was horrible. Yeah. Anyway, after that time, things started taking a whole new level. I started to try to be happy again, and it was actually kind of working. I was actually kind of happy in that month of April, after the tragic day of April 8th, and that awful experience I had. I was left to find new sources of happiness, and this is when I stopped abusing the pills, because I realized they weren't going to have the effect they had before, but I was taking my regular dose because it would help with some of the depression and all that. And this leads into the alcohol abuse. Basically, in this month of April, I started turning to alcohol because it really was the only thing left for me to do that was easily accessible, and it was free for me because I just got to, I stole alcohol, okay? Either from my parents or from other people. It was horrible. But yeah, during that time, I was using alcohol too, and I just binge drink. After my first drink, I would get, then the colors would start to appear, the room would get more colorful and vibrant, and I loved the first rush of the feeling that I got, so I would just keep drinking, and yeah, I was drinking alcohol before, but it wasn't this frequent. It would maybe be once a month, or once every few weeks, and this time it was getting to the point where it was like once a week, and got to the point where eventually into May, things transformed, and I ended up drinking so much that I blacked out in my front lawn, and my parents found me vomiting, and I didn't remember anything from that time, but apparently I was basically almost unconscious. I was telling my parents stupid things like, I'm just out in the cold, so, that's probably why I'm getting sick. Just stupid stuff like that. And in that time, I was just vomiting. I felt like shit. Eventually in the morning I realized, oh, my parents actually knew what happened. I didn't actually convince them, because I thought I convinced them at the time, but I didn't. And they found out that I was drinking, and they're like, do you need help? and I was like, I was crying, I was bawling my eyes out. I said, yes, I need help. So then it got into rehab. I started doing rehab, and they took me off the Vyvanse. And, you know, first few days were always good, but after about 4 days, the calm ended, and I came to the realization I'm never going to be able to do this again. And it was the void, just the void. It was like a friend of mine had just died, and I never got to see them again. It was horrible, because I had so many good experiences with this, and, you know, it has almost never let me down. It's only let me down a few times, and, you know, if you have a friend that never lets you down only a few times, you know, if you lost that friend, it can be one of the worst experiences ever. And that's what it felt like to me at that time. Anyway, I made it through the few months of rehab sober, and I was kind of pulling through, you know. This time my anxiety and my depression kind of slowly went away, but they could be triggered at any moment. And that led me to August. Basically, through the months of June and July, it was okay. I was pulling through. I went through driver's ed, and that time I was drinking a few cups of coffee to get me through, because, you know, coffee is one of the main things I would drink when I was under the influence of Vyvanse. It would help boost up that high, you know. And I made it through that month fine. You know, I was a little stressed, a little bit of anxiety, but I felt fine about my life. And then August came, and I know I needed to get a job, and I applied for a job at this local, I'm not going to say the name of it, this local grocery store. And when I applied there, I went to the interview, and I didn't get accepted. And everyone else in my class got accepted. And like I was talking about before, with the anxiety and depression, be able to be triggered at any time, that happened. My depression got triggered, and I became very depressed for that amount of time, from August to October, 2 months basically. In that time, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts. I had just horrible. I just felt horrible. You know, people would say bad things. It was just, I mean, the smallest comments about not getting the job set me off. My self-esteem plummeted to the bottom. I don't know what I did. I lost all motivation to do that, and I still don't have a job to this day, you know. A lot of people have a job now at my school. Seems like I'm the only one that doesn't, but yeah, anyways, in that moment of time, it was very hard. I mean, I realized, before that, I did relapse. I should have mentioned that, yeah, in that time. And I had a lot of cravings in those months. And now it got to the point where it was unbearable. I totally wanted to just get drunk. I wanted to get high. I wanted some Vyvanse, and I didn't relapse once, but I got high in Vyvanse again. But yeah. Anyways, after October, things started working out for me again. You know, we got this exercise machine. I started getting back into music after I tried to make a song and it turned out well. Yeah, a lot of things just started working out in that month. October was kind of a mixing match situation. Basically, for half the month I didn't feel good at all. But, you know, for the other percentage of it, I felt fine. And then transferring in November, I just felt good. It's probably the best I've felt since July, and that's a good thing. I hope I can, keep this up, because, you know, I started antidepressants in November after talking to my psychiatrist, and, you know, ever since then it's been very steady. There's only a few swings of depression from that situation, and they haven't been that bad. So yeah, if you want, I might make a video on the antidepressants, because, you know, it's a big part of my life. But yeah, a lot has changed. That huge depression, downward spiral over those months, It's taken me a long time to get over it. Hopefully I can get a job. I'll keep you updated on that. But anyways, that's the story of what's been happening to me over the last 11 months. There's so much more that has happened. I might make a few videos on that, like the Vyvanse High and stuff like that. But you know, with YouTube now, they're a little more strict, so you know, I'll just keep it on the down low. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully people will still watch these kind of videos, because I had a spike actually in views, and that's what kind of motivated me to make this video. You know, thought about my experience, and I was like, wow, 2.6 thousand views, and so much has changed. I need to make another video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I'll keep you updated for new experiences. Bye.